Welcome back to Talk of the Town. I'm John Mark Dempsey, and we are visiting with Wyman Williams. Almost all of you know Wyman Williams from having lived in Commerce almost all his life. And Wyman is Director of Development for the College of Business and Entrepreneurship. And we interrupted you in the middle of your presentation that you're giving to alumni and others right now about the history of the university and the university's place within the Texas A&M system, where it is now and where we're going. And we had just gotten to the point, the mid-'70s, where things took a downturn, and you call that gloom time.
Well, I hesitate to use gloom time because it does not describe the student experience. It describes the challenge to administrators, because each year there were fewer students and, of course, less revenue. Mm-hmm. So it was a challenging time. A reason for this decline had to do with competition in northeast Texas. And that came from an expansion of community colleges that actually began in 1966. Now, the next slide will show you the number of community colleges and four-year colleges that, there you go, that were developed since 1966. Now,
it seems like there's one on every corner.
Well, Tarrant County had 3 campuses. Dallas County developed 7 campuses. Collin County 3 campuses. Northeast Texas Community College was developed. What became the University of Texas at Dallas and the University of Texas at Tyler did not exist before 1966. John Mark, today these entities serve 180,000 students. Mm. So it certainly wasn't that there were not people looking for higher education. It was so much more competition. Mm-hmm. So our enrollment declined. Now, back to the next slide will show you that we, during this gloom time, we had a reaction to that in the 70s. Since we were competing with community colleges, the decision was made administratively to lower our entrance requirements to match that of community colleges. You'll note that it did not change the decline. However, it did damage our academic reputation. Mm-hmm. Now, when Dr. Charles Austin became president in 1982, his second day on the job, he raised those standards back up. But notice that didn't turn the tide either. The enrollment continued to decline. Now, in 1986, I have an end of gloom time, and it was truly a gloomy time for those of us on this campus and in the region, because the then governor of Texas, Mark White, had appointed a committee to study the cost of higher education in Texas. And they came up with a recommendation that was not at all favorable for us or 3 other institutions. Now, that was East Texas State University was not necessary, and that it should be closed. The other institutions that were recommended for closure were Texas A&M University at Galveston, the University of Texas at Permian Basin, and Sullivan State University. Mm-hmm. Well, what became of that, or what happened, Dr. Austin asked then an administrator who later became president of our university, Dr. McFarland, to write a paper in our defense to be presented to the legislature. He did that. There was a group of 450 regional residents who traveled to Austin to the hearing. And the result was that none of the universities were closed. What it did, it started a conversation around here that is very important to our existence today, and that is, the next slide shows us what now time. It's a 10-year period from 1986 to 1996, and the question was, what do we do to prevent that from ever happening again to our university? Mm-hmm. Well, Dr. Jerry Morris became president, and you notice things kind of eased up in enrollment. However, the Board of Regents were responding to the opportunities that the University of Texas system and the Texas A&M University system both were trying to do, and that was expand their network of regional universities. So talks were held with each of those systems, and Dr. Morris and the then board decided that our history aligned better with the history of the A&M system than the University of Texas system. So serious negotiations were reached, and then our board finally decided to eliminate themselves and ask the Texas A&M University system to merge our system into our school. We actually did have a system since we had a Texarkana branch that became Texas A&M University at our Texas A&M University Texarkana. So we moved into the opportunity to change our name. The decision was made to name us Texas A&M University Commerce. When former students were notified of that, Dr. Jerry Morris wrote a letter. And in that letter was included some frequently asked questions by ETSU graduates. And one of those in particular is referred to when I go out and meet those older graduates, and that is an offer to get a diploma from A&M Commerce. And it was offered as a service for those who might want to do that. However, you're dealing with a group of students who were very proud of their experience at a 107-year-old university at that time. Mm-hmm. Most of them did not take advantage of that, and many of them were actually offended by the thought that they would want that. Anyway, to move on with the discussion, we will move to the next slide, and that tells us what is the relationship of A&M Commerce with the flagship Texas A&M University. This is one of the most confusing items that I run into. And the answer to that is directly nothing. Well, how can that be? You look online at a organizational chart for the Texas A&M University system, and you will find that there are 11 universities. The flagship being one of the 11. All of the presidents of those universities report to the same chancellor. That chancellor reports to a single board. So all of us in the system are governed by the same board and the same chancellor. However, the leadership of each institution is arrived at in this manner. There are search committees on each campus for deans, vice presidents, and presidents. Those recommendations move up the ladder to the chancellor. If the chancellor agrees, then the board has the right to approve the leadership in each of those institutions. Now, funding, that's another confusion thing. Funding comes to each institution directly from the legislature. And for our university, that's been the same since 1917. Most of our graduates assume that we get money from the system. No, we get help in lobbying for that money from the system. It's done very systematically, very effectively. Mm-hmm.
Let's take another break. We have more to talk about with Wyman Williams. Wyman is the Director of Development for the College of Business and Entrepreneurship, and just about as well known as anybody I can imagine in commerce. So I know he's a familiar face and a familiar voice to many of you. And Wyman is giving us right now the presentation that he's doing with a lot of alumni and others interested in A&M Commerce as we get ready to observe the 125th anniversary of Texas A&M University Commerce this fall. So we'll take a break and we will come right back with Talk of the Town.